Beyond the Waves is a Hail Hail Media production. It may contain swear words and adult situations may be discussed. If you're in the company of underage Tims, turn off the show now and listen back later. If you'd like to get in touch with the show, email us at beyondthewaves67@gmail.com. You can also reach us on Twitter at BTW Celtic Show, or check us out on Facebook and join our group at Beyond the Waves. Hail, hail, and keep the faith.
In memory of the 10. England, you're a monster. Don't think that you have won. We will never be defeated while Ireland has such sons. The dreary H-block cages where brave young Irishmen lay, hungering for justice while their young lives ebbed away. For the rights of Irish soldiers to free their native land, they stood beside their leader, the gallant Bobby Sands. Read the roll of honour for Ireland's bravest men. We must be united in memory of the 10. England, you're a monster. Don't think that you have won. We will never be defeated while Ireland has such sons. Francis Hughes and Old Balahi, Ray McCreesh from Armagh Hills, in the narrow streets of Derry, they miss O'Hara still. They so proudly gave their young lives to break Britannia's hold. Their names shall be remembered as history unfolds. Through the war-torn streets of Ulster, the black flags that proudly wave to salute the Irish martyrs, the bravest of the brave. Joe MacDonald, Martin Hurson, Kevin Lynch, Kieran Doherty, they gave their lives for freedom with Thomas McAwee. Read the roll of honour for Ireland's bravest men. We must be united in memory of the 10. England, you're a monster. Don't think that you have won. We will never be defeated while Ireland has such sons. Michael Devine from Derry, you were the last to die when your 9 brave companions with the martyrs they did lie. Your souls cry out, remember, our deaths were not in vain. You fought to make our homeland a nation once again. Read the roll of honour for Ireland's bravest men. We must be united in memory of the 10. England, you're a monster. Don't think that you have won. We will never be defeated while Ireland has its sons.
All right, welcome to the Beyond the Waves Celtic Football Show. My name is Graham Wilson, and today we will be reviewing the 1-1 result against Edinburgh Hibernian at Easter Road. A bit underwhelming, but let's be honest, just coming back from international break, I know that's a weak excuse, but let's take our hats off to the Hibs keeper, who was absolutely on his head today. Made some outstanding saves, in my opinion. Darnell Fisher, as well, making his first-team debut in the SPL. I thought that he was started off a bit nervy, but as the game grew on and he adjusted, I guess, or grew into the game himself, had a nice account of himself, and having zero protection whatsoever from Callum Murray. I thought he did quite well, Darnell Fisher, in defending and just challenge after challenge down the Hibs left side. And Callum Murray, hard season ticket book holder, just decides that he can't go too strong against Hibs, and he loves nothing more than sticking it to Celtic. And essentially that's what we saw the entire game. Repetitive fouling that was allowed to continue. I mean, it took 3 fouls against Darnell Fisher before Callum Murray was even going to say anything to him, let alone book him, throughout the entire game. All over the park, persistent fouling allowed to continue. Institutional bias, cheating, still is allowed to continue, to exist. Nothing is being put forth to bring it in check. And a goal that was clearly offside. The linesman didn't find his flag until the second half, obviously. Ruling Celtic offside a couple of times when clearly it was not, deflecting off of a Hibs player. And yes, you can point to the fact that, we didn't take our chances. That's absolutely true. We didn't. And it gets back to the point that we've been making since August, that we don't have a clinical finisher in the center of the park, a center forward that can score goals. I made this point at the end of the transfer window. I was told that I was a moaner. I was told that I wasn't giving anybody any time. I told you. I told you this was going to be the case. So this is where we are. We have a midweek tie against Ajax. Our leading scorer at the moment is out for that game, Chris Commons. He has a hamstring strain. Not clear as to how long he's going to be out, but he's going to be out for Tuesday. So an already bleak-looking, goal-scoring drought is not made any easier. Some of the tactics were a bit confusing. 4-2-4, essentially, for the entire game. Chris Commons, let's be honest, he's not a midfielder anymore. I mean, he's maybe that link up between the midfield and the strikers, but you can't classify him as an out-and-out midfielder. Sammy is of course, a slasher from the left-hand side, although we did see him play more centrally throughout the early part of the second half, really, and for much of the second half. It looked as though Neil Lennon wanted to play the ball through the air. You saw repeated balls, route one to Sammy. I guess he saw an advantage at some point against one of their center halves. For me, I'd prefer to have a tactical advantage that suits our strengths rather than exploits an opponent's weakness. Granted, if you can line the two of them up, then that's fantastic, but I don't think Sammy's really strong suit is in that central area and challenging center halves with his back to goal. He needs a ball to run onto, and he needs to be on that left-hand side, and it was a double whammy, really, when we pushed Anthony Stokes out left, who, yes, he can play out there, but I think that he's much better in partnering with a fellow striker and creating chances. Sure, he can put goals away, but putting him out on the left-hand side is not the most efficient. Samaras, when he has the ball in traffic is not optimal. Let's be honest. He does tend to give the ball away quite frequently and carelessly. But I thought Baram Kayal was starting to look more like the Baram Kayal that we saw from his first season. Very energetic, all over the park. Really didn't put a foot wrong in my opinion. I think he was subbed off because we know with a basically fit Joe Ledley. Want to get him some time and see if we can get him in this Ajax game. Obviously, considering Scott Brown is not going to be available for that, we're a bit thin at that central midfielder position. But Baram Kayal, good signs going forward. He seemed like he was up for it. And Scott Brown, for me, I would consider Scott Brown the man of the match today. That's probably a surprise to many hearing that come from me, but I thought that he was absolutely everywhere. He covered a huge amount of space. Considering, again, we were playing a 4-2-4. Okay, we can say it's a 4-3-3, but let's be honest here. Who are we kidding? It was a 4-2-4. Nobody was tracking back. Samaras does not track back. He just doesn't. So the amount of work that Scott Brown did, in my opinion, was quite good, and he even managed to get himself forward quite a few times. And then James Forrest. James Forrest, he took a bit of slag in the early part of the season, going out injured, and people questioning his durability. Mind you, he did score the winning goal that got us into the Champions League, but we'll disregard that. For me, I think he's probably our most dangerous player at the moment, and we saw once again coming on as a substitute. Took his goal extremely well. With the outside of his right foot and just curling it right in there. Exceptional technique. Very direct. The one question that I have, the thing that I'm confused about though, with Neil Lennon and his tactics, again, it's just a question. And maybe, one of our callers can shed light on this, or Rev, I don't know, I'll pass it over to you. It just seems as though Neil Lennon, his tactics don't lend themselves to fostering a lot of width. We see James Forrest when he comes in, he's got pace, he can take a man on, he could get by a player, take it down to the byline and whip it in, and he never does that anymore. He takes it down, wants to take a man on and challenge them, and we saw that very clearly in taking his goal, essentially against the run of play. But he cuts the ball back in right at the top of the 18-yard box, and there's just more often than not, there's no place for him to go. There's no room for him. It gets so compact, so congested in there. It just opens up opportunities for us to lose the ball instead of taking the ball and keeping it wide, dragging an extra defender over there and opening up some space. For me, that's a bit baffling. When we see Neil Lennon's tactics go south and go sour and get this anemic sort of vibe, it tends to get too narrow. And I don't know if maybe James Forrest has that tendency, or if Neil Lennon is that's what he is instructing the players to do, but it seems a bit monolithic, especially without a poacher in the middle, somebody that can sort of clean up the mess in the middle. Sammy had to look at a couple of good goals, but again, their keeper just had a fantastic game. Ambrose, for the goal that was given up, he switched off there for just a second, and we know he's capable of doing that. But nonetheless, the player was offside. I think he did well to keep the player offside, and it's just unfortunate that the linesman was and the referee were so inept. So, Brev, your thoughts?
No, I agree. Going back to what you said about when things start to go south and the game just kind of gets on like one track. It gets a little narrow, and it seems like they just kind of do the same thing over and over again, and kind of lose a little bit of creative spark. And having a poacher or someone in there, Gary Hooper was perfect in that role where he could, when it seemed like the box was just a bit of a frantic mess with, balls coming in, no one can get a head on it, but it'll take a bounce somewhere in the box. And he seemed to be the one that was, either finding himself in the right spot or whatever. And he would be the one that could, put it away. And yeah, you said it. Everyone's been, well, not everyone, but a lot of people have been saying it, that we are missing that type of a player very badly this year.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, you look at the leading scorers in Scotland, and we don't have anybody really contending. I mean, like I said, Chris Commons with 5 goals, he's out now, and fingers crossed it's not going to be an extended absence for him. That this is what we left ourselves open to. This is what I was so concerned about when we were talking about, we didn't replace Gary Hooper, as you described, and if we lose Chris Commons, who, let's be honest, is not a striker, he's not a goal-scoring striker, but at least he's fulfilling that function for us now. If we lose him, if we get, God forbid, Anthony Stokes goes down injured, who are we left with? Are we really going to rely on Georgios Samaras as being our penalty box striker? That's terrifying to me. I guess you're speechless. I'm.
No, there's nothing to say. I mean, we aren't in a good position. No pun intended.
No. Yeah. Very, very nice there. I like what you did. Okay, so we have several guests today. I'm shot out of a cannon, as you can well imagine. We'll look ahead to the Ajax game, and obviously there are loads of issues surrounding the club just now. First off, Rev, Scott Brown suspended for the next 3 UEFA ties. That's obviously pending the Celtic appeal, which I am expecting to get absolutely nowhere. The rule, the contention is that it was a violent conduct. I mean, please, if it's any other player than Neymar, are we really talking about violent conduct? Are we really looking at a three match ban?
Probably not. He sold that. Everyone was wondering what the hell happened to deserve the red card. Then you see the replay from that one angle, and okay, yeah, he got him in the back with his. Was it his knee or his foot? I remember.
It was his foot. I mean, he just clipped
it.
You know what it is? You know what it was? It was something that you did to your little sister when you were like 8, just to piss her off, and
right.
That's all it was, And I mean, it was stupid. It's something that the captain of Celtic Football Club should know better than to do, right. And we know that evil Bruni is lurking down there. I mean, he's sort of, he's grown out of it a little bit, but there's that devil that's waiting deep down inside of him that's just dying to come out. And, after the repetitive diving from Neymar, it's something that in Scotland probably could have gotten away with. And, right. When you do it right in front of a UEFA referee in the biggest of stages, you're not. With that being said.
With a named player, yeah.
With that being said, 3 games.
The red card, if they're gonna give him a punishment, they're gonna go and play it by the book. Then red card, 1 game, take it, walk away. You shouldn't have done that. Slap on the wrist, whatever. But yeah, 3 games. That's a bit excessive. There's been way worse that's happened in Champions League games that I've watched, and nothing happened.
Yeah, agreed. That sound in the background you're hearing is that's the feathers of the parrot flapping around. Parrot, we have a little song that we want to play for you. What is this?
Go for the 3 of the GMs, we ball, I'm all yours.
There you go. Little Doobie Brothers for you. Yeah! Coming at ya. Hail, Hail Media. We got a little Michael McDonald flying column here. The Parrot's joining us. He's going to go off on the board, probably. Hail, Hail Media.
The only song song that beats that today was 4 rows behind me. People started singing, "The Queen's a cow, the Queen's a boot, Michael Fagan liquor," and I'll leave the last word out.
Fantastic.
An old Paul classic. I'd tears filling up my eyes since when Yama left us. But no, I'm live outside the Colonel Gaddafi, the Queen's Park Cafe in the Green Mile. Chaz Duffy still owes £100 behind the bar.
Hey, speaking of which, I got something that I'm bringing over from him, so sit tight on that.
Good stuff, mate. Yeah, I mean, I sort of get told today there's a bit of merchandise getting put together here that yourself, the Rev, and Yampy and that, probably Deco and Duffy will want one of them. So put it this way, you wouldn't get into Celtic Park round your neck, so I'll get you down for one. Lovely stuff.
Listen, pal, thanks so much for joining us today. I listened to you last night on the Celtic Dream Show, and I was listening to it in the car, and I absolutely punched the air when I heard your rant. Just tell us a little bit about this. There's a lot. I mean, I know we were just reviewing the game and looking ahead to some of the Champions League ties, but there's so much else going on with the club just now. Let me just sort of set this up. I mean, the Celtic Trust this week has announced that the AGM, which is coming up in mid-November, they've proposed 3 resolutions. One of which being raising the pay structure at Celtic to have a living wage as their minimum wage salary. That was eagerly and quickly knocked back from the board. The other aspect of this was proposing that Celtic lobby UEFA to conduct an investigation, and rightly so, into the SFA conduct surrounding the liquidation of Rangers and how they were so quickly injected back into Scottish football. But take it away. I mean, I know you're on the Green Mile just now. Just share some of your thoughts and some of that passion that came from the Celtic Dream Show last night.
All I would say is the fact that obviously the figures I spoke about last night, I think the ballpark figure is it's about £120,000 that Celtic would have to get the figures to. I'd hope to think the majority of the support would like to see fans getting the actual living wage. And obviously, Big G talked later on the Celtic Dream Show, and I cross-reference it saying that the Celtic Trust confirmed that Celtic employ like a 0-hour policy contracts as well, and there's been quite a lot of, I'd like to say there's been quite a lot of attacks, and it's amazing. Celtic FC, very few folk will actually take them to task and batter into them, but you put the word trust after Celtic as in the Celtic Trust, and some of the stuff that's been going those guys' ways is absolutely appalling. All my main point was about last night is I do realise the world's in a recession and companies are reducing their numbers and figures and try to get their margins down to keep employing. The problem we've is the brand product, as I said last night. KFC, the brand product is sold with the Colonel with his magic recipe for the chicken. You take the magic recipe out and it's just a bit of chicken. Coca-Cola's exactly the same. You take away the secret ingredient in the Coca-Cola, it just becomes a caffeine-based soda. And much the same way, I have absolutely no problem Celtic doing what they want to do, but don't especially in the last year with the 125th year anniversary celebrations, portraying and advertising the statue of the good brother Walford, Andrew Cairns, who started the club all those great years ago. So, that's our brand sort of thing. So don't be saying we're doing this. Don't be advertising you go with the brand when you don't, sort of thing, mate. And that's my main point. And coming out, I'm not going to talk tactics with you guys. You've got the cash and carry Capellos who phone you up every week to analyse the game. I'm not good at all that nonsense, but just a few things with today. That there was quite a disgruntlement amongst the Celtic support actually walking out that ground, and the fact where for me, we've went for probably seeing last season a great squad, and might not have been the best team I've seen compared to Martin O'Neill's squad, but it was the greatest squad we've had in depth. And today we've seen we're looking at the bench going, well, there's not much there, is there? And I'm sure you guys are going to assess it or been assessed it, but anybody who, my main stark warning is, obviously I put a few pictures up on Twitter and I'll get the Beyond the Waves Facebook page done when I get back to the nest, but there's one of the girls on our bus today was told by a Hibs casual, why don't you go and pick potatoes and go home? So anybody that thinks that there's an Irish stem to Hibernians fucking kidding themselves on, I'm calling that stadium the Proclaimer Dome from now on. That's all they play. Start the game, half time, end of the game. I'm expecting them to employ Paddy Brennan when he moves over, so he can look like the fucking Proclaimers with their glasses on. An absolute embarrassment. I'm taking Larkin out the city, the great Jane Hamilton, and that's it. They've talked the James Conley plaque. Not even a tricolour that shower I had today.
Yeah, no question about it.
You know what I mean? But no, as I say, the game is where it was, mate. But no, it's good to have his back on, etc. But obviously you guys will assess it. I thought James Forrest with that goal, mate, he just ghosted it and it was fantastic,
He just gives it us that something a bit different, when he comes on, fresh legs, and he runs right at players. I think, opposing fullbacks, not just in the SPL, but, throughout Europe, find it a bit hard to deal with. And it's just a matter of getting that striker that can run off of him and give him an outlet. Or, opening up space for him to go, because we've seen, he has the final product as well. So, happy days. And long may his fitness and his form last.
Yeah, I did definitely. That was the thing we were saying. I thought Pookie was excellent. I thought young Darnell at right back was great as well. Obviously, Bruni came on again, but the mindset of the lads sitting and the girl sitting beside me was sort of, for me, when Fenlon got to have his job, as he tried to play football, and obviously evidently knew playing football in Scotland doesn't get you anywhere, so he's resumed to a kicking game, which he's got a blank cheque to do, because that referee today just let him away with everything.
Well, it's exactly right. If they're not going to call a foul, for kicking the shit out of people, then what's stopping them from doing it?
I thought it was in Madison Square Gardens watching the WWF, mate, you know what I mean? But saying that, we had 9 clowns with cameras standing round, as you've probably seen it on, I've been on and off Twitter, but 6 Celtic fans sort of arrested for
7
Roll of Honour.
There were 7.
So there was, and just to let everybody know, one of the guys on our bus, and there was a few tunes going on. There was nothing too sexy, shall we say, and an Irish song. And he done the golden rule now, which seems to be apparent when you support Celtic. He went down before half time to get himself a drink, and he got the drink, and he was walking back up, and he's not in the Green Brigade, he's not a football hooligan, he's just a daft scaffer like myself. And he was walking back up, and this hand came from nowhere, being one of the Police Scotland officers, saying, "Oh yeah, we've sort of seen you mention the word IRA." And we saw, and by look, a couple of the lads come down and sort of whisked them away. But we've evidently seen the Green Brigade releasing the footage showing the fact that when they took a serving officer of Police Scotland to task, standing there, it's safety numbers we're going to. You need Charlie's Angels when you're going to see the Celtic now, G. You know what I mean? Otherwise you're going to get huckled, mate. But it was quite disappointing, obviously, with what happened in the case study, where nothing was being done to the tin soldiers and all that marching about at the Bigot Dome the other week, mate. But onwards and upwards, mate, and we'll wait and see what we get on Tuesday night, pal,
Yep, yeah, absolutely. Very well said, Parrot. I think what you said is so poignant, and it's bang on. The fact that I love the reference you make, where you remove the secret ingredient from the Colonel's chicken and it's just fried chicken. If you remove the secret ingredient from Coke, it's just cola. If you remove the spirit of Brother Walford from Celtic, it's just a football club. Now, how can this board look at itself in the mirror and say that they're upholding the spirit of Brother Walford when they have 0-hour contracts that they uphold and they claim, while all of them are on millions, okay? Peter Lowell is on £1 million. And he has the gall to say that they need the flexibility, the financial, ability to move money around, so they can't pay people a living wage. It's pathetic. It's a disgrace.
I seen the actual club documentation proving what the board actually gets, and there's maybe about 20 or 30 guys on my bus. Well, Celtic fans a lot longer than me don't do social media, and I got my iPhone out and I passed it down to 25 men. I says, that is what my chief executive's on, but people, and I was going to get the Mary Hill Food Bank and all that, the food banks, hopefully there's some great stuff getting planned, but we're looking at a stage where we've got a chief executive officer getting just under £1 million a year. Some people see earns it, some people might disagree, and we're maybe looking at people that's going to be working that game. The Champions League, the greatest of the greatest, the capo of the capos, we're going to have flashlights on Brother Walford, and we're probably going to have people who are going to have to go to a food bank to get food before they go and work at a game at Celtic Park with 0 hours contracts. If that's the sort of board you want at Celtic Park, do you know what? I'll go and get my Mo Bangura t-shirt on and go and support a team in Sweden. Always gets back to the sheriff, baby. But no,
hey, is Joe with you?
No, it's sort of went Pete's wrong. I was out.
I think the parrot just got shot down by Midlothian police. See that? You referenced Joe Lang and everything goes tits up. Well, anyway, shout out to Joe. I know that the parrot roams around with her. I see pictures of the parrot with the camouflage trachea on and the humongous sunglasses, which he claims are Joe's, but I know they're actually his. Here's the parrot. Parrot, did you get pulled up? Did you get pulled up from Midlothian police? All I did was mention Joe's name, and now all of a sudden, you're out in the stratosphere.
I know, mate. I know. No, I was just. I tell you what, the Grateful Larkin's a brave man scurrying about that establishment, mate. You know, I thought it was Barack Obama arriving the amount of police today. But listen, it's pissing down here on the south side. If Chaz Duffy's listening, I'm away for a roll in front of, and I'll hopefully see you and the good men very soon when you come over, mate. But I'll listen back to the rest of the show.
All right, parrot.
Oh, mate. But keep the faith, lads, and I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers. Cheers. Dry your feathers. We'll talk to you soon. That's the parrot checking in, and he's always class, no question about it. I mean, just carrying on from that, doing some research, like Parrot was talking about there, looking at not just what Peter Lowell's on. I mean, okay, yeah, 999,000 pounds. That's like $1.5 million. What does he do? What does he do? Aside from negotiate shitty contracts. With Nike. Negotiated a contract with Nike in 2004, which basically paid us 10 million pounds up front, and we get essentially nothing from the kit sales for the next 10 years. That's what the Nike deal is. When you buy a Celtic strip, the club gets precious little, and that's down to the shit deal that was negotiated. How about the shit deal with Magners, the kit sponsors? What does he do? Peter Lowell didn't put the team out today. He didn't put the team out in any of the Champions League games. A Barcelona game last year, nothing to do with Peter Lowell. It's Neil Lennon. If you want to pay Neil Lennon that kind of money, okay. I can rationalize that somehow. He has much more effect on what this club is. And it's just, I mean, it's a disgrace. It's pathetic. I don't know how they look at themselves in the mirror. And then to have the gall to come back and say, we need the financial flexibility, so we can't do that right now. I.e. paying their employees a minimum of a living wage, which is £7.40. £7.40. So, doing the math, at max, it would cost the club an additional £120,000 to £160,000. So you mean to tell me that if Peter Lowell went off of £1 million and just took £750,000, that would ensure that all of the employees of Celtic would be on a living wage? Let alone, putting that money towards an actual striker. We'll set that aside for just 1 second, which I've been complaining about for months, but nobody seems to give a shit while we're celebrating the balance sheets, which does my fucking box in. I have absolutely no idea what compels people to celebrate a fucking balance sheet. It's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Is anybody getting any money? If you're a shareholder, you're not getting any of that money. There's no dividends being paid out. What are we celebrating? If the chief executive took a pay cut from $1 million to $750,000, he's still not starving. He's not starving. He has a driveway that is heated. He has an artificially heated. He can artificially heat concrete, yet we have people working at Celtic Park that aren't on a living wage, and he has the balls to say that we don't have the flexibility? Shame on you. That's disgraceful. I dare anybody to try and rationalize that with me. Rev, I know you're shit hot with cash, so, you don't give a shit either way.
I actually have to take a helicopter to get to the end of my heated driveway when I need to get the mail.
Well, So you do the research. And, as Parrot pointed out, people aren't aware of what the executives are on. Ian Bankier. What does Ian Bankier do? What's he ever done? I think he's made 2 statements in a press release that the club released. He's on $50,000 a year. $50,000, not bad. That's not bad work. You come out and you make, you say 2 sentences a year. At least John Reed would come out and say, we're not putting up with this shit anymore. Sure, he's a war criminal, but, at least he has some balls. least he actually does something. Ian Bankier? You ask the majority of the Celtics support who the hell Ian Bankier is, probably wouldn't be able to tell you. Yet he takes $50,000 a year from the club. Now you look into the social charter of Celtic Football Club. Okay, let's use this as our reference. One of the edicts in the social charter of Celtic Football Club is the best the Celtic stands for is supporting the charitable principles of its founder. Are 0-hour contracts what Brother Walford stood for? Is that what our founders' principles are? Not paying people a living wage so that somebody at the top gets £1 million a year?
Can you real quick throw out what a 0-hour contract is? I have an idea, but
good question, Rob. So essentially, it's the ability for the club to basically just bring you in whenever the hell they need you. So you're not guaranteed any amount of hours at any point. They can say we don't need you at all, or we'll bring you in for 3 hours this week or 40 hours this week or whatever. And you know what? I get it. Okay, it's a seasonal company. It's a seasonal type thing where the better part of May, June, getting into July, you're bringing people back. But for a couple of months, there's really nothing going on at Celtic Park, aside from the hospitality sort of things and events. Mm-hmm. So I get that. But there's not a way around paying people a decent wage when you have multiple millionaires, espousing all of this. And refusal to pay a living wage because we need financial flexibility. Spare me. This idea that, we're in bad financial times. Bullshit. And all these people that want to celebrate the balance sheet, go back and look at the balance sheet. Look at how much profit the club made. And if we're not going to spend money on an actual striker, the least we could do is bump up people's pay by £1 an hour to get them to a living wage. So based on the social charter, Peter Lawwell, you fail. Here's another one. The best that Celtic stands for is promoting health and well-being, understanding, and positive social integration. Is not paying a living wage promoting health? Is it promoting well-being? Social integration? I don't think so. Exploiting workers, paying them below the living wage? I mean, essentially below the poverty line? While you pay yourself millions? Social integration? I mean, you have your driveway is heated for you. You heat concrete. It's a disgrace. So I don't understand. I mean, this, as Parrott pointed out, the Celtic Trust getting all sorts of abuse for it, calling their intentions into question. It's a disgrace. It's an absolute disgrace. And it's anathema to what the club stands for, what the club represents. And now we have somebody who can talk some sense, finally, on the show. Because I don't know what I'm talking about.
From South Jersey, he stands about 7'1". He is just a gentle giant, that is, unless you're a hun. He calls the show up every week. You know him if you heard him speak. Yumpy! Oh yeah, Yumpy, Yumpy's got a filthy mouth. Yumpy! Oh yeah, Yumpy calls it every week. Yup.
We're in the 16. You're out. Say goodnight, princess. You're fucking
Now joining us from South Jersey, it's Yampy. Yampy, thanks for calling in, pal.
Yo, Jay, what's going on?
As you can see, I'm absolutely shot out of a cannon. I tweeted out just before we were going to go live that there's a powder keg surrounding the club. I mean, there's so many issues just now. And, with this AGM coming up, I mean, we think back to AGMs in years past where it's essentially just a dog and pony show. People, get up and ask questions, and it almost seems scripted. Nothing of substance ever comes out. The Celtic Trust puts forth a couple of resolutions, 3 resolutions, in fact, which I think are very valuable, make great points, and the club just comes straight back, knocks them back, and basically disregards any resolution that they didn't propose, and the just the balls on our executives to say that we don't have the financial flexibility to pay people a living wage right after we announce, with much fanfare how good our balance sheet is. And, Peter Lowell on £1 million a year, it's an absolute disgrace. It's infuriating to me.
Yeah, you could pretty much take Peter Lowell's pension and pay a living wage to basically all the employees working at Celtic. It's kind of embarrassing when you have somebody that's as overt in a way. It's like, this is what I make, this is what I do. You don't really like it? Well, I don't really care, and this is how I'm going to do it. That's not a really good way to do business and endear yourself to people.
Well, I mean, especially when when you're presenting yourself as a PLC and it's run by the shareholders, it's absolute bullshit. Dermot Desmond comes in, he says what's going to happen. It's a dog and pony show. They make people think as though their vote counts when it's complete horseshit.
It's just as you said, it's a dog and pony show. They'll do whatever they need to do to feather their pockets. It's the powers that be at the club, and they could care less. It's all headed up by law. And again, the guy's never done anything that wouldn't further advance how much dosh he could put in his pocket.
Yeah, it's exactly right.
It sucks because it totally perverts everything that the club was founded on, and everything that's the club's about. I mean, they put out a video as a "We Are Celtic." And here they are. They don't stand up for the supporters with something as fucking ridiculous as singing Roll of Honor. I mean, it's okay that they have that fucking goof show over at Ibrox where everybody's, basically goose-stepping around and holding up, bigoted scarves and everything else, and nothing's done about that. So you think the club would turn around and say, you know what, there's a double standard there. Let us stand up for our supporters. But Lowell can't be tore away from his cash. So it's like, oh, you know what? That offends me too. Anything I have to do to protect my money, I'll say or do. And that's Lowell's MO. It sucks.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you brought this up. I mean, another event that came up in this powder keg that I'm referring to this week, the Sevco Military Bigotry Day at Ibrox, basically was exonerated. No further investigations, and there's basically no wrongdoing, no prosecutions associated with that. Where, like you said, the British Army doing the bouncy, singing songs, that are sectarian in nature. And our support gets locked up for singing Roll of Honor. 7 more Celtic supporters today locked up. We just heard from the Parrot. One of his mates wasn't even involved in any of the singing, just picked out by a police officer saying, I heard you singing about the IRA. It's absolute nonsense. The club have done exactly zero to back our own supporters. In fact, they've been all too eager to vilify our own supporters, the Green Brigade specifically. And it's just disgusting. It's empty suits in a board that are only concerned with counting cash and has nothing to do with the supporters as long as they continue paying money. And all these people that want to talk about politics doesn't have any place in football. I'm sorry. You know what? I tried to play nice with that. I tried to see your side of it. I'm done. And the events from this past week basically have clarified everything. Okay? There is a double standard, as you pointed out. This offensive football behavior at football, whatever. The SNP's, creation, which is just one of the worst pieces of legislation in the history of self-governing democracy. Where you can vilify people at a police officer's discretion. There is absolutely no outline in terms of how it's going to be implemented, and they give complete license to the law enforcement, which, by the way, let's be honest. I mean, the law enforcement in the west of Scotland has never been made up of anybody but, the Catholic-hating Protestants.
I saw that video on YouTube with the cop talking to the dude from the Green Brigade and everything. Was it like a week or two ago? And the dude's a total cock. I mean, he's just sitting there and he's got this big smirk on his face, and it's like, I can do whatever the fuck I want. I could do it now, or I could do it later. And you will never ever hear of anything like that at Ibrox. It must have been a big fucking tea break during the halftime show that they had for Armed Forces Day.
Well, and the troops go right up to the edge of the railing, and they're doing the bouncy, and nothing happens.
Yep. So what was it? Like, you can sing offensive songs about Bobby Sands, and that's perfectly fucking fine. But you sing something about honoring 10 brave men who made a personal sacrifice and commitment to something that was right, and that's a criminal offense that warrants a door being kicked in and having the fucking cops in your house?
Nah. Sorry.
That's a crazy fucking setup.
You know
man.
what? I'm done. I'm done with, with this. I'm done with this politically correct bullshit of we're not going to sing rebel songs anymore. We're going to be nicey nice. You know what? I'm done. I love rebel songs. I don't give a shit. And you know what? Me and you and the Rev can sing them until we're blue in the face. And you know what? Cops would probably join in with us over here.
The cops should arrest me for singing as poorly as I do, but they won't. You still have that freedom. It's just fucking ridiculous. I mean, I'm never even like... It's just something I can't get my head around. That it's like, oh, you can really get arrested for singing a song with no curse words, and like, I mean, you get that feeling you're like living in fucking bizarro world.
It's legitimized. It's legitimized enforcement of bigotry is what it is, and they want us to sit back and know our place. And you know what? Fuck it, I'm done.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, I post videos from YouTube and stuff, and I saw the thing with Peter Lowell, and Lowell was like, it was an old video from like a year or two ago, and he's like, oh, we won't tolerate Republican songs being sung, da-da-da-da-da. Like, instead of slagging your own support, how about attacking the other party all the fucking time?
We play Republican songs 24 hours a day. Not putting up with their shit anymore. How do you like that? Come and kettle my ass. I'm done. I'm done with playing nice.
Well, you're going over there. You'll get the opportunity to kind of like...
I don't give a shit.
Stand up for what's right.
Exactly.
You have to live it a little, G.
Exactly. What are they going to do, lock me up?
Just wave the passport in their face. Show them I'm a fucking American. You better have a good fucking excuse for arresting me if you're going to pull that shit.
Well, if I get pneumonia again, I'm a walking biological weapon, so I'll just, I'll sneeze on them.
You're like the monkey from Outbreak.
I need Dustin Hoffman traveling with me. Where's the antidote? You know what? I'm
like, sing what the fuck you want, dude. Just get away from me.
Yeah, exactly. Go sneeze over there, you little, you little Fenian.
You big disease-spreading Fenian bastard, huh?
Kevin, you're such a disease. Damn right, bitch. So another one of the resolutions that the club basically, just shooed away was a call for the club to ask for UEFA to investigate the SFA, and specifically them parachuting Rangers back into, or Sevco, back into Scottish football. Not only that, also issuing them a license to participate in UEFA competitions when they did not meet the criteria. So essentially what that did, people would say, oh, we should move on. It's all about them. It has nothing to do with us. The SFA gave them a license in their last year of existence that allowed them to play in the Champions League and gifted them 15 million quid. That was our money. So why would the club not stand up and back this?
I guess they just don't want to ruffle any feathers. And that's all I can get from it. It's like, as long as the money keeps coming in, just keep everything status quo. They talk about like all those like, the thing where people were talking about secret agreements and stuff and this and that. I mean, I don't know about all that stuff, but there is something really fucking weird where the club just comes off as not having the balls to do anything when it applies to their big rivals who, back in the day, you're talking about 20 years ago, their rivals didn't give a fuck what happened.
Exactly. They couldn't be more delighted. Read Paul Larkin's new book. Read The Astroskiers, and it will make you... This is why I am furious. I've read that book, and then you hear Peter Lowell and the response from the board that, they had the SFA investigate, and they're content with the outcome. It's bullshit. How can you say that? Peter Lowell gets a seat on the SFA board now, and all of a sudden he's sweet. We shouldn't investigate what happened, back then. It cost the club $15 million.
Yeah, there's a lot of contrarian thought going on when it applies to Peter Lawwell and the way that he handles business. I mean, if that was me and I'm running the club, I'd be all over them like white on rice.
This is the man we're paying £1 million a year to, and everybody glorifies him.
Not me. I don't glorify him. I see him for what he is. He's a businessman, and he don't give a fuck.
And he's a shitty one at that.
Yeah, he's not a great one. He's good at putting it in his own pocket.
And people want to say, "Oh, well, look at how successful the club is now. Look at how much money." You can thank Neil Lennon for that.
Yeah.
You can thank, Johan Mjauby, Danny McGrain, Gary Parker. They're the ones that put the club in this position. Thank John Park.
The real heart and soul of the club. I mean, the people that really make that kind of put the iron in the glove when it pertains to Celtic. Not the Peter Lawwells of the world will come and go. They'll take their money and they'll walk the fuck away. But the Neil Lennons of the world that get us to where we want to be. They to be in a position to have some chance at glory. Mjauby, all the guys, Park. I mean, I was a little critical of Park today about scouting and everything when it comes to getting a striker for the club and all that. But again, he's at the end of the day, a guy like Park is still. His strings are still pulled by Lawwell because he says, it's like he could be like, okay, I think this guy's great. You think Finn Boguson's great. But if Lawwell's only going to say, well, you have 3.5, maybe you have $4 million, and that's all we're going to fucking spend. That's all you get. And that's not enough to get the deal done. Then he can only be as effective as the guy providing him the cash to get the job done. So it's not so much a Park thing. Again, at the end of the day, it all comes back to Peter Lawwell.
Well, I mean, listen, if the rationale was, and I wouldn't agree with this, but if they said we're buying Pookie as a replacement for Stokes, I could get with that because they're so similar in style. Stokes is last year of his contract. We're not going to renew him. We're going to bring in Pookie, and he's going to be that type of player going forward. I'd be fine with that. But they didn't. But they passed it off as Pookie was Hooper's replacement.
Yeah.
You need players that are going to fulfill certain functions. Okay, you can't buy a center half and as a replacement for a goalkeeper. It doesn't. Right. It just doesn't work. And kind of the point of football is scoring goals. That's kind of the point. It's kind of an important position.
Well, when you're limited by your financial constraints as imposed by the man running the show, sometimes you're put in a position to. Where it is. I mean, look at it. I said it today. You have a collective of guys who are kind of similar. They work better in space. They work better out on the wing. You can say Bo Richter, Pookie,
waste the money,
Samaras. I mean, all these guys, they're good on the wing. You need somebody that can get in the middle of the field, make fucking defenders miss, and score with some skill. You know what we are?
We're the old lady in Vegas or Atlantic City, just throwing nickels into the slot machine and just wasting it. But instead of nickels, it's £2 million, and we're pulling the lever for a striker that can actually find the back of the fucking net. Year after year, $2 million. We bring in another striker. Hey, he doesn't score goals, but, boy, is he creative. Hey, he goes out wide and he can link up with who? With who? If we didn't buy Bo Richter, Bo Richter $2 million, Pookie $3 million. There's your $5 million. We don't need Pookie or Bo Richter. We could have gotten Finn Boguson.
Yep, I agree. And now look, you're going into a match on Tuesday against Ajax, and you don't have Commons.
There's nobody that can score goals.
So who do you have in the midfield? Because Brown's out too, and not that Bruni's a goal scorer or anything, but now your midfield looks like a fucking train wreck. You have nobody really. I mean, you got who's a Kyle? He's an empty fucking jersey.
Easy with Kyle.
You might as well file a report with missing persons because Kyle's fucking useless.
Hey. We need to go back to the Rebs and cool you down.
You can play the Rebs all day. You're not hurting my feelings.
We're not English. We're Irish. Proud we are to be. Fuck your Union Jack. We want our football team back. Shot out of a cannon.
You're on fire today, G.
Yeah,
you still alive, dude?
I'm still here.
Rev just sits back. He doesn't want to get involved in the fray, because he's got his, he's beloved on Twitter.
No, I don't want to interfere with a good rant. I love a good rant.
Yeah. Well, we could be here all day with a good rant.
No question about that. I mean, look, I obviously we're being overly negative, and I keep making this point. I keep making this point, and I keep, listen, I keep getting made to look like a mug when it seems as though Neil Lennon has his back up against the wall the most, and on paper it looks like we are, just completely out of options, ideas. He pulls a rabbit out of the hat, and this Ajax team is not what everybody's expecting it to be. Yes, they're third in the Eredivisie at the moment, but they don't have... I mean, I think they have something similar to us just now where they don't really have an out-and-out goal scorer. They have Bojan on the right-hand side, brought in from Roma. I think he's going to be dangerous, and it's definitely going to be a handful for either Charlie Mulgrew or, obviously Charlie Mulgrew, in my opinion, is going to be in the midfield. Emilio Zagari, he's going to have a lot to try and contend with, keeping tabs with him, but... This is an Ajax team that is searching for some sort of identity, and they were lucky to get out of Milan, with what they did. But
I was just say Ajax can be had on the road. They give up goals on the road, both in league and otherwise. They can be. If you're going to do any damage to them, it better be on Tuesday.
And listen, this needs to be a clarion call. I don't know what Neil Lennon does with Sammy, that gets his head out of his ass. I mean, it seems as though Sammy really is the culprit. When we have these games where our back's up against the wall, Neil Lennon takes him into a room and does that Mr. Miyagi, all that or whatever. Like he cracks his hair or something. I don't know, and it just turns him into this Greek crackhead. He comes out and he's motivated, and he actually puts in a tackle or two. He tracks back, and he's potent going forward, especially off of set pieces. We really need that, because if Sammy's going to turn out another performance like he had in Milan, where it looked like he just couldn't be bothered, we're going to be in big trouble.
Well, and another guy, if Pookie starts, he didn't really do much. I see a whole range of comments on him today. He didn't really do much for me today at all.
No, I didn't see it.
Yeah, I wasn't overwhelmed. And here's a guy, when I hear people say, oh, he's got to adjust to the Scottish game, it just makes me fucking throw up in my mouth a little bit. I mean, it's like he was coming from Schalke, the Bundesliga. What does he have to do to adjust to the Scottish game? Punch himself in the face a few times? I mean, it's like, if you had enough skill, you would be able to make that adjustment to play the St. Johnstons and Hibs of the world.
Yeah, I think another challenge for him, though, is what we were referring to, where he's so similar to Anthony Stokes, and I think that he's caught him between two minds most times. I mean, so often it seemed as though he didn't quite know when to make the runs. He didn't quite know when to try and lay the ball off, try and link up. That is going to be an adjustment if we're going to persist with Pookie and Stokes out there at the same time. I mean, essentially we had four forwards on the park all game, which on paper or in theory you'd think, oh well, there's plenty of firepower there. Except when everybody's making bullets for somebody to fire and nobody's sitting there with the gun. We see what happens today. Loads and loads and loads of chances, and nothing gets finished. And
you like Jamesy using his speed today, huh?
Yeah, I think Jamesy gets a lot of stick from people. Given
I have no idea why.
Given the fact that I think that he does have a bit of a reputation at this point of being frequently injured. But
if that's the worst thing you can say about him, I mean he's still in my money fastest guy on the club. Yeah. Puts the defenders on the wrong foot. I mean, he's had two big goals in the previous couple of weeks between the Shakhtar Karagandy game winner and against Hibs today. Yeah. And he almost had another one today that fucking Ben Williams made a hell of a save out of.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that would have been the winner, too. He's the only guy stepping up.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's definitely going to get the start now that Commons is out for Tuesday. So, hopefully, I mean, he's had some very good performances coming off the bench, this season, and thinking back to last season, I mean, he was absolutely immense coming off the bench against Spartak Moscow. Hopefully, he can start the game with that bit of something extra, that enthusiasm, and carry it through.
He worries me a little bit over 90 minutes if he can keep up with a really good pace, and you always have that injury thing going on.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my concern as well. It's a great point, where it seems as though maybe 60, 70 minutes his he starts gasping for air. He looks a little less interested, and that's...
He's like a tater tot with legs, man. I mean, he's like 4 foot nothing. It's like Tattoo from Fantasy Island. But I mean, dude, he's fast and he plays with some flair, man. I mean, who else on the club is really overwhelming you when they have the ball on their foot?
No, I mean it's a great point. We saw Scott Brown, take the initiative a couple of times. I'd like to see more of that. Obviously not on a Tuesday, but as a general theme, I mean, I think Joe Ledley can sometimes do that. But at the end of the day, we need to rely on a striker, who's going to be able to do that, who's going to be able to put those chances away. And I'm sorry, but Georgie Samaras needs to be pegged to that left hand side. Stokes needs to be in the middle, and they're just him and Pookie are just gonna have to figure it out. They're just gonna have to. And I will repeat the point that I made a couple of weeks ago that Neil Lennon could definitely use a coach that is going to focus on improving the strikers. We have plenty of coaches that have a specialty in defense. Obviously, we have a lot of capability for midfield, but we don't have an out-and-out coach for our forwards and our strikers, and we really never did. I mean, Alan Thompson to a certain extent, yeah. Gary Parker was an attacking midfielder, but not a striker. I mean, Chris Sutton. You see him all the time. Tim's at a comment that he has this perpetually bored look on his face, but I think he would be an excellent addition. Especially with the type of football that I think Neil Lennon wants to play. Utilize some of our size, especially up top, and have more of a physical presence. That for me would be a very good a very good and very positive move going forward. Obviously,
if Petrov was looking for some form of employment,
well, he's not a striker.
No, but I'm still saying. I mean, he's still a guy who knows the game.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'd like to have him in, but it's sort of the same situation as our purchasing of strikers. We purchase the same exact kind of striker and not the different striker that we actually need. I think Petrov is a lot more the same that we already have and not really so much what we need.
I'm just trying to think of guys that are Celtic guys that might be they. We always talk about Sammy gets it.
Here's one, Chris Sutton.
Okay.
Here's another one, Henrik Larsson. Nothing. Wow. Well, listen, Yampi, we have a big game tomorrow, that being Phillies green and white. We're bringing the American Huns, the Dallas Cowboys, to Philadelphia.
That was Giants. Giants have the colors down, right?
Well, yeah, the red, white, and blue. They're the mini Huns. They're the Hearts.
Yawn, yawn, yawn.
They're the Hearts.
Yeah, it's a big one tomorrow.
What do you think?
We talk from a bunch of guys who support an orange hockey team.
How we mute?
Here we go.
How we mute the guy from Jersey here?
Don't hate on us because all your team's colors are red, white, and blue.
Yeah, well, that's what Huns do. They point out
the shortcomings of others.
Exactly, the splinter in other people's eyes while they got logs and shit. Yeah, I recite Bible poetry while listening to Rebel tunes. That's just me. So, are you nervous about the game tomorrow? Be honest. Don't even lie like you do a lot. The Cowboys are coming in. We got absolutely no defense. I mean, their front line. The Cowboys' front line is just gonna want to pressure Nick Foles all day long. Our offensive line really needs to come through and give him some protection. Riley Cooper he's gonna need to have a big game. Run smart, good, clean routes. Their secondary is a bit suspect, and that's where we can sort of take advantage of them. But we're going to need to hope and pray that Tony Romo has his interception throwing diapers on tomorrow because our defense is absolutely atrocious. Are you confident?
Well, I'm a little confident. I mean, not a little confident. It's like being a little pregnant.
I'm a little pregnant.
Our defense just blows, dude.
Sucks.
I am dead serious, man. It is awful. But that being said, I absolutely fucking hate the Cowboys so bad. There's probably, except for old Rangers, dead Rangers, there's no club in any sport that I hate more than the fucking Cowboys.
I agree.
To see that scumbag, shitbag team lose would make my whole weekend.
Yeah, no question.
Being said, yeah, we could definitely beat them, but being the king of the NFC East is doesn't really amount to much of nothing these days. So
yeah, that's true. Well, we better switch off of this before I start getting more hate tweets. Speaking of which, here's a hate tweet from Marky Pussbag. He writes, BTW Celtic Show. I guess he's responding to a tweet. I sent out a tweet. Oh, good. Commons is out for Tuesday. Good thing we have loads of goal scorers. That was obviously sarcastic. Well, Marky Pussbag writes back, how is that good? period, question mark, twat.
There's another fucking deep thinker.
Yeah.
He'll be the next head of the fucking club when Lowell leaves.
Sorry, Marky Pussbag. Your sarcasm meter needs new batteries.
Some people get it, some people don't. Like I said, that's why they put block buttons on Twitter.
Yeah, and then they run off and bitch about it. Oh, well. Listen, Yampy, how are things going otherwise? Obviously, it's a difficult time for Philadelphia sports fans. Our gleaming, shining bit of positivity is the 3-3 Eagles. But how's everything otherwise?
Yeah, it's what you think it would be. It's been a tough couple weeks, but trying to get trying to get back to doing everything as normal as possible. Everybody's been really cool, and it's like, I still have issues I got to sort out with my mom and everything, but again, it's just a part of life, man, and it's trying to get by just like everybody else. So Celtic winning helps me more than anything else. So I'm all on board for Tuesday. And trying to stay positive. So
well, and you got a lot of people behind you, pal, as was evidenced over the past couple of weeks. So
people were so awesome, it wasn't even funny. I mean, it was just like the response of like just everybody's good wishes and everything. And again, I'm not going to get all redundant, but I just want to thank everybody that responded on Twitter and just offered just cool responses, and people were really awesome. And thank you. From my whole family, because it was greatly appreciated.
Well, it's with good reason. You're you're a great person. Anybody that's been within 30 feet of you knows that. You just ooze genuine sincerity. You're a good guy. You got a lot of people behind you. Anytime you want to come on here and vent and just use any kind of profanity you want, we're open for you.
Fucking A, man.
Fucking A is right, Yampy. Thank you so much, pal, and go Eagles. We'll talk to you soon, and keep your head up, pal.
Thanks, man. Thanks, fellas. Hell, let's get them on Tuesday.
Hell.
Later.
That's Yampy getting in touch from South Jersey, and he is about 7'1". No shit. Wouldn't you say, Rev?
I'd say 7'2".
That's a big dude. It's somebody that for me, I'm a scrawny loudmouth. So for me, making friends with those guys is absolutely key. You know what I mean? I mean, I can talk as much shit as I want. Be like, what's that? You got a problem? Yo, Yampy, go kick some ass. That's it. Somebody want to send me a nasty tweet? I don't give a shit.
Sick Yampy on him.
Yeah. Get him, Yampy. Talk all the shit I want. I'm such a shithead. We're trying to get in touch with the good purveyor of Myrtle Beach Ball Deep CSC. That's the greatest name of any CSC on the planet. But, I mean, hands down. Wouldn't you say?
That they really can't be topped.
Ball Deep. You know what? I'm just gonna. There he is. I was just gonna call him, but here he is. Dr. J.
Dr. J.
Gee,
how are you?
I'm hearing myself. It's a bit disturbing. There he is.
You there?
I'm here, yeah. Do you have the... You know what? Yeah, let me call you back because we got an echo, and if you could turn down the volume. That wasn't irritating.
That was pretty funny.
Well, then you started saying things, and you would come through. Like, I thought you were messing with me, saying it twice. You're a dick. You're enjoying this way too much. Oh my God, he's gone Dalek. Now calling us from a power line. Dr. J, you there?
I am. How are you, G?
All right, we can get through this. Let me get some fanfare out of the way, and then we'll dot I's and cross T's. Doctor, give me the news. I'm going ball deep because of you. We're gonna breach in Myrtle beach. I'm going Baldy because of you. Oh my God. I got to come up with something else. That's absolutely atrocious. Now joining us from the Palmetto State, which for those of you who aren't aware of the nicknames of each of the 50 states, that's South Carolina, the southeastern United States. It's Dr. J. Dr. J, hail, hail. Thanks so much for calling in.
Hell, G, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm getting a lot off my chest. I'm quite mouthy today. We're singing Rebel songs. It's fantastic. So, Dr. J, our latest correspondent for the show, Beyond the Waves, southeastern United States correspondent. You know, we had an opportunity to hang out very recently, and we drank almost all of the red wine in my house, which is a good thing because my wife doesn't even drink red wine. But it was great to see you. And hopefully we can do that again soon. Hopefully, you know, maybe I can make the trip down there and visit your palatial state.
Yes. And in fact, I can't believe your wife has a hard time drinking red wine considering she was pouring 32-ounce glasses at 2 a.m.
That's how we roll.
Yeah.
Good stuff, pal. Well,
Blotto. Oh, my God.
Next time we're going to need to do some LD.
Oh, gosh.
That's all there is to it. Yeah, I will definitely have to bring back copious amounts of LD and Buckfast, and you know we'll do it. We'll do it right. So you should see the chat room right now. People are just aghast at my intro. Yeah. Dr. J, did you have an opportunity to watch the game today? What were your thoughts?
I did. We watched it this morning. My son and I watched it this morning. In fact, last night I had the opportunity to pick up Paul's book. I had won it in auction, and I had it signed to my son, and I presented it to him last night when we got to the hotel room. We're down in Charleston for some league games for him.
Chucktown, nice.
Yeah, and I had sat down and for about 2 hours last night between getting in the room and sitting down and holding the book and reading some passages to him. Not all of it, Paul, but some of it. And trying to explain to him what it was, and then it was really interesting. And then this morning we were watching the game, and he's looking at the referee going, "That was offsides," and I'm like,
"Yep."
No matter how much money we have, no matter
welcome to Scotland.
Yeah, and that's really where it comes down to. And for someone to say that that's not the case, I just want everyone to go back and reread the last paragraph of Paul's book by any means necessary.
Yep.
And that's where I got when Paul said he signed the book to my son. That's what I wanted to pick his reference from. That never let your guard down, because no matter what you think you've accomplished, they will find a way to go ahead and do whatever they can to go ahead and drag it back from Celtic. And it's just one of those things. Every bit of what Willie Collin did today was absolute disgrace. Absolute disgrace. I'm sitting there watching the game going, my son's U13 game was better refereed than Willie Collin, who wears a FIFA badge.
Doc, let me call you right back. Hold that thought, because the line it's like this. It sounds like you're sitting on a power line. I'll call you right back, and then this will give us an opportunity for more fanfare.
Good.
All right. Yeah, you guys think that one was bad? Wait till you hear this. I hear the secrets that you keep when you're talking to Baldy. I hear the secrets that you keep when you're talking to Baldy. See, now that's how you take care of your correspondence, Rev. I mean, you have your fanfare, but I mean, come on, that is quality.
That's the best I've ever heard so far.
That was an enthusiastic response as well.
I tried. I'm sorry.
All right, let's see if we can get him now. I figure if I call him, it'll be a little better, but maybe not. See, I tried to call you earlier and it didn't go through.
Yeah, that was on my end, I think.
Oh, that was you. Blame Rev. All right.
Hey, now that's not the hashtag.
Blame Rev. Well, I don't know. Now we can't get him back. I don't hear.
Now it's back to blame Graham.
Yeah, I don't hear the secrets that we keep when we're talking to Ball Deep, because he's probably cruising around in his Ferrari. So it's oftentimes hard to get reception. So, Dr. J, if you're listening, call us back. And
his doesn't come with Wi-Fi. Mine does.
What, your Ferrari?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
The one that I take out drive, at least. The other one stays in the garage.
Some people just don't have, the audacity to go for all the options in it. But he's obviously referring to. He mentioned Willie Collin, but it was actually Callum Murray was the referee today, and he talks about the last paragraph of By Any Means Necessary. Paul, Paul Larkin, it doesn't matter which one of his books you get; they're all just fantastic. But obviously his latest one, Asterisk Years, covers, and we've had a couple of interviews with him. We're gonna have one more. Covers the house of cards that David Murray basically built on a pile of fluffy sugar or sand, and the influence that he put together, and how the cards were stacked totally against Celtic, and how we, were resolute through it. And all these people that want to talk about, it's time to move on. That's all in the past, and we need that. No, it's not. It's not. The clarion call, for me is the Celtic Trust. All they do is ask the board to lobby UEFA to have a proper investigation. And the club, essentially do a complete about-face, change course completely, and say, there's nothing to see here, it's time to move on. No, it's not. It's not time to move on. We were cheated out of £15 million. That was rightfully ours. They're running a PLC, okay? And if they want to make it all about business and take £1 million wage that they want to try and justify somehow, they are duty-bound to see to it that if we were cheated out of £15 million, we get it. And they're not. They're not doing it. Oh, God, that's even worse. Dr. J, where are you driving your Ferrari just now? Are you under...
Is that better, G?
Oh, that's much better. I can hear the... Did you put the phone in the engine?
I'm about to touch a power line just to say I did.
Listen to that engine. My God. I got a boner. I'm not even kidding.
Yeah.
What are you driving? Are you driving the Vet today?
I have a 2013 Camaro convertible.
Look at you. Look at you. You get more. I bet you get more women than anybody on the face of the planet, don't you? Don't even lie like you do a lot.
Well, I heard the saying I get more ass than a bicycle seat, but I understand.
There you go. And you're handsome to boot. It would be one thing if you were like, just like a bald, old, fat asshole. But, now you're like, your body's a wonder. You walk into my house, your body's a wonderland. I'm like, honey, stay away from him,
Oh, I did.
I lost them again. See that? You try and pay somebody a compliment, and look what happens. Rev, your body's a wonderland, too.
Thanks.
I don't know. Liam's getting in touch in the chat room. Apparently, Dr. J heard his intro, and he's not coming back. All right, we'll try and get him back. But so continuing on my rant from just now. My theory is, this idea, this concept, this theory. Is he there? Oh, so now he's back. I'm about to make a point, and he comes back. Dr. J.
Good. I'm sorry.
No, I got you now. We were talking about your body and how it's a wonderland and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, if you get into a ball pit, yeah, whatever. I'm one of the fluffy ones. Anyway, so listen, what I was getting at was this. I had the opportunity to read that portion of the book to my son today and this last night. And the best part about it was really the fact that today we watched the game and he looked at me and he said, "Dad, I totally get it."
Yeah.
He goes, "There's no reason to win." Now my he just turned 12 in July, and he just said to me, I totally get it. And I just sat back and I was like, wow. And
that's how clear it is.
Yeah, he totally gets it.
Yeah.
He totally gets it. And look at it and go, it's crazy. And then, the one thing that we did see was when Liam Craig basically accosted, Darnell Fisher for the first 18, 20 minutes of the game.
Repeatedly.
And then basically was in his face the last time when Colin had to call both of them over.
Calamari.
Yeah. Colin Murray called both of them over when basically he cleared out Darnell Fisher, and Darnell's just like, what did I do?
Yeah, exactly. I'm bleeding from the mouth. Well, sorry, I bled on you.
Right, and I was just absolutely just dumbfounded. I could not believe what I was watching, and and I'm willing to bet if the field was mic'd to the point where they could hear Lenny call someone a fanny, I guarantee you there were some other choice words other than fanny used between Liam Craig and Darnell Fisher.
Of course. Because
I'm willing to bet you it was worse than that, and I'm willing to bet you there are things that were said. You could just tell. You just tell. Just me. I mean, I don't know. I was furious with it, and then I don't know. I was just furious. But anyway, so listen, I have a couple things I want to talk to you about. Here's what I want to talk to you about today. First off is this. Since when did we start playing with 4 9.5s on the field? Not a 9, not a 10. 4 of them.
Exactly. That's exactly what we've been talking about. We're playing a 4-2-4 with, a front line of the exact same player, and they're like,
the exact same player.
Yeah. Oh, no, you got it. You do it. Should I go left? No, I'll go left. You make the run. Wait, I got my back to the goal. I thought you were going to run off me. It's a clusterfuck. It really is.
Is there any way, if we sent Parrott some money, is there any way he could sneak into Celtic Park and put in one of those underground dog fences? That way we could put a collar on Stokesy and keep him in the fucking box.
You mean like an electric collar that only has like a boundary within 20 yards wide around the goal?
Not allowed. Well, I'm like, listen, there was nobody in the box. Nobody screaming, somebody get in the box.
Right.
Nobody. And they're all standing. I mean, if Stokes could have gone wider, he'd have actually helped sell freaking hot dogs.
Yeah. If they sold hot dogs in Scotland, he would definitely sell them.
Whatever, hot dogs, pies.
You know what? I think he'd be a great hot dog salesman. I'm with you. But yeah, I think that is really what is ailing us at this moment. And further concerning is the fact that Chris Commons will not be available for Tuesday. It's unclear as to how long he's going to be out, but he was really our only sort of threat, from just outside the box and from any sort of like a finishing aptitude. That was it, and now it's gone.
Yeah, that's good. I'll tell you what, and I know last time we had chatted, I was like, oh yeah, we could, with a healthy squad, we can do this. In a matter of 2 weeks, you lose Lustig. You lose the worst fear in the world for Matthews with surgery and plates and reconstruction of the shoulder. You lose all this stuff going on with Brownie and Bruni, and that drives me up a wall.
Yeah.
And even worse, and then on top of that, now you got Commons, and it's like, Jesus Christ. It wouldn't surprise me if a 0-0 draw wouldn't surprise me this week. I mean, and if you told me we get 0-0 draw, I'd take it and hide.
Well, you know what? I mean, in terms of the result, I'm right there with you. I mean, it has 0-0 written all over it, except for the fact that, 75 minutes into the Milan game, it was 0-0, and we were thinking, okay, if we could just see this through and get a 0-0, it's going to be, it's going to be an acceptable result, and even to a certain extent in the Barcelona game as well, right. And it's just as the game goes on, I don't know whether we get tired or if we sort of lose focus or what the situation is, but the longer a game goes on scoreless, I think is a huge detractor for us. That makes me nervous.
Yeah, and this whole thing now with Bruni is I mean, that's harsh. I mean, that's the other day there was for the guys overseas, we get ESPN FC, which is Shaka Hislop and Craig Burley and Steve Nickel and a couple other people that are basically talking. I don't know if it's a simulcast show over here versus there, but it's on like 5:30 in the afternoon here, and I was watching.
They might as well just talk it. They might as well just call it Shite Talk. I mean, it's
because it's basically all about the EPL and
Craig Burley
and
Barcelona. Craig Burley and Max Bretas. I mean, it's like the wheel well of diarrhea.
Yeah. So anyway, they had. I don't know if you saw it, but they had Alexi Wallace on.
Oh yeah.
If you guys remember, used to look like his face was on fire with the red hair coming out of his chin.
Yeah. He's the tomato in the shit sandwich.
Yeah, and he basically said, "Well, I'm totally against talking about all the stuff that diving and everything else. I'm totally against retroactive cards. I'm totally against. I don't want to re-referee the game. So for the last 3 weeks, I've been tweeting every time someone dives and gets caught. I've been tweeting the entire time, and I know I know Peter Wallow's listening because the Rev said so. And I know that Alexi's listening, so fuck him. He should listen. Reply. I want to hear your reply. I want to hear how it's okay to dive, and not just affect the outcome of one game, but now go ahead and affect the outcome of an entire group because someone gets red carded because someone dies. And he's saying that's part of the game. So, I mean, come on, is that really part of the game? Is it really part of the game? I don't think so.
Well, I mean, you listen.
Now the worst part, I don't know if you saw it, I tweeted out the other day, and I absolutely fell over. Did you see that Neymar has an action figure? I swear to you, Neymar has an action figure. And if you read the fine print, it actually comes with optional equipment of a snorkel and fins.
I knew it was coming.
So it's coming. I'm telling you, he seriously does. And I was laughing, going, "Yeah, it comes with a snorkel and fins because he's a hashtag cheating, hashtag diving, hashtag
ball bag,
cunt, hashtag Neymar." And just in case anyone searches any four of those terms, they'll find out exactly how I feel about that motherfucker.
Seems reasonable. At MB Ball Deep
at MB Ball Deep. Yeah. But anyway. So that was it. And by the way, and can I say this because I know that the other half of Glasgow listens to this. Since when is child abuse banter? I'm sick of it.
Since they got pulled up on the fact that singing about the Irish famine, singing about Catholics and actual bigotry, actually sectarianism. Since they started getting pulled up on that, now all of a sudden it's whataboutery. So that's when it became banter.
Yeah, Yampy, thanks because he talked me down off the ledge the other night because it's just some stupid thing. I had some 18-year-old tell me, "Oh yeah, well when you get a job," I'm like, "Oh yeah, when I get a job." Okay. Yeah, when I get a job. Anyway, so just because I'm not on the state payroll, and you are, but anyway, so it's just one of those things. I had to say that. I've been dying to get that out there. It's not banter. It's not. It's not. It just isn't. Just don't do it. I mean, every time that comes up, and I see it a lot on Facebook. You see a lot of like a couple different places where you see that. It just drives me up a wall. I see it. I'm just like, really? Come on, you can't come up with a better reason?
I mean, it's pathetic point scoring from people who don't have they don't have a double-digit IQ for starters, but they don't have any sort of wherewithal or message that can defend what they're doing. So this is what they resort to, and then at the end it's a predictable outcome. It ends with no one likes us, we don't care, and liquidation. So the sooner that can happen again, the better. Let me ask you. I mean, you have a particular insight. You're a business person, and a quite good one at that. We talk about the lack of business acumen with Peter Lowell in a lot of circumstances. But let me get your take on this. Celtic Trust this past week. We have the AGM coming up in the middle of November, and the Celtic Trust doing fine work. You can find them on Twitter at the Celtic Trust. We're having Jeanette Finley on in a few weeks to talk about these resolutions before the AGM. So we're looking forward to that. Jeanette's really a hero of mine in terms of standing up for the rights of Celtic supporters and getting behind Celtic supporters when they're being persecuted, as we're finding on many circumstances now. But one of the resolutions that she brought up for this AGM coming up is the fact that she wants, and the Celtic Trust generally representing their members want the club to lobby UEFA to launch an investigation into how the SFA gave Rangers, now dead, but gave Rangers, before they died, a license to compete in UEFA competitions and allowed them to play in the Champions League. When they did not meet the qualifications, they shouldn't have been given a license, and that place in the European stages, the Champions League that season, should have and rightfully would have gone to Celtic. So that basically cheated the club out of £15 million, by doing that. From a PLC standpoint, from a chief executive standpoint, their number one remit is the financial stability of the club. Why would they knock back a request to do that? As they have. Why would they refuse to lobby an investigation into how the club lost out on £15 million? They're supposed to represent the shareholders. The shareholders' interest is in getting that $15 million that was stolen from us. Why would they refuse to do that?
Listen, I'd love to say I came up with my own idea on this, but I mean, after reading, Paul's book and listening to him talk and everything else, it just comes clear. I mean, the reason why they could never touch, our man from Canada is because he was our man from Canada. Mm-hmm. And now you look at the people that are running the club now. None of those people, are untouchable, and to the point where it's one of those things that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I think you're dead on there. I think you're absolutely dead on. Where the people who are in charge don't have, they're not. They're brainwashed, with that mentality, that psyche that has us drop our heads and take whatever is thrown at us. Where, Fergus McCann, he would have fought till the death. I mean, look at the Jim Farry situation, amongst others. It was very adversarial for him. It was very personal for him. He wouldn't have put up with this shit, in my opinion. I think that there's another element to it as well. Here's my theory.
I think that I'm not saying that that's the case, and I'm not saying that either side, like I'm 100% sure of either side of it. What I am saying is this: that there's a lot of appeasement taking place because of, and I feel in this situation, a lot of people want to be a part of, or want to be accepted, and I think that's a lot of it. And in those social circles where, as you say, someone has a heated concrete driveway, there's a lot of acceptance needed, and I don't think it's any different from if you were in a pub in Port Glasgow at Donaghy's and you were a prick, you wouldn't be accepted there. You'd have to go ahead and show you were pretty cool. And in those circles, I mean, the game and the level just changes, but it's the same exact game.
I think they want Rangers back. I do. I think our club, I think the board of directors, I think Dermot Desmond, who, I mean, let's not kid ourselves. You're going to read the Asterisk Skiers. You've read his other books. Dermot Desmond calls the shots. You can say all you want that, the shareholders own the club and whatever. He owns, the majority of the club. What he says goes, and Peter Lawwell is directly answerable to him. He can take a backseat role all he wants. He's the one that calls the shots, and Peter Lawwell is his personal executor for this. He wants Rangers back, and the board members want Rangers back. And Peter Lawwell, his remit is, to fulfill those functions. And by, launching an investigation of the SFA into, what they did posthumously or whatever, and if they're going to label Sevco as being the same as Rangers, that opens up a whole Pandora's box. But if they do that, and they have to collect the money from Rangers and go down that path, I mean, it's a slippery slope from their perspective. They launch this investigation. They have to follow through with it till the bitter end. And the bitter end means, Sevco goes out of business. I mean, look, it's inevitable they're going out of business anyway, but I have several sources. Actually, I've a lot of sources that are close to Dermot Desmond, that are close to the board, who all say that the principals, the powers that be, want Rangers back as soon as possible. They want to be able to fill that stadium at least twice, sometimes more a season. They want the storyline behind it. All of this nonsense with, leaking information to bloggers about, we didn't want to fight the fight then because the safety of our board members was at risk. Please. We're talking about billionaires. They don't mingle with, the common folk. They're never going to be at risk. Their safety is never going to be in jeopardy. They have security teams. They have armored limousines. Dermot Desmond travels by helicopter, by private jet. None of these people, none of these knuckle dragging, filth would ever get anywhere near Dermot Desmond. It wasn't a safety issue. That's nonsense that was leaked out to bloggers to distract from the issue. And the issue is they want Rangers back as soon as possible. No question about it.
Let me say something. I know there's people outside the U.S. who listen to this. I want them to understand how much of a mind shift it takes for us on this side of the pond to even like kind of digest what's going on, because sports leagues here are owned by the owners, and there's a man in charge of, like, called a commissioner, and it is what it is. And there is very little, if any, favoritism played, period, end discussion, because of the fairness that needs to, the way they perceive fairness.
Well, I mean, listen, the precedent was laid down in 1919 with Kennesaw Mountain Landis, where you have a commissioner in charge to make sure that there's fairness here. That's why legalized sports gambling doesn't exist out with, Atlantic City, a few other places, and Las Vegas. The sanctity of the game is paramount, and, the feeling is if we compromise that, people will never come back, but except for the fact that in Scotland people do.
Yeah, even in the NFL last year. I mean, what happened with Peyton and Sean Payton was the coach of the Saints. They basically, in a game as violent and as evil as American foot throw ball, is what I call it. Their careers are 4 or 5 years maximum on average, and they basically took 6-7 players and a couple coaches and a manager and said, "You're out for an entire season." Can you imagine Could you imagine if they had gone and said, you did this, and you're out? They just play just enough to go ahead and get people to go crazy. There was no, I can guarantee the people in Scotland, there was no uprising and people in the streets with pitchforks in New Orleans when they basically wasted all of last season for the New Orleans Saints.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And for us to be talking about this, I mean, it's really like, it has to be, to me, when I first listened to this, going, am I on the moon?
Yeah, it's surreal. It is. It's surreal.
It's surreal. And now, and listen, and I just want to say this about what happened at Ibrox. We all saw the YouTube video, and then all of a sudden to hear today that 7 people get arrested for roll of honor. Yeah. Let me get this straight. So to sing about the celebration of someone's life is illegal, but to sing in celebration of someone's death is legal.
Yeah. No, it seems reasonable.
While wearing a military uniform.
Yeah,
I'm trying to figure that out.
Seems reasonable. Now, get the hell out of here, Timmy.
All right, cool. Hey, listen, by the way, I got you go. This is and I'm aware of it, and probably two of the best stories I had last time. About 2 years ago, I went over for a christening, and I remember going there with my American passport, going in the airport in Glasgow, and hand the guy my passport, and going. He's like, "What are you here for?" A Catholic christening.
I'm sure that was met with much fanfare.
Oh, really? Yes.
I will not be saying that when I travel over. But
I don't care.
You, sir, well, I'm not as handsome as you are, and you, sir, have balls of sheer steel.
Or the one time we were in Greenock, and it was late. I had not slept on the plane over, and we went straight out. And next thing I know, it's probably 2 a.m. Glasgow time, and I've been up for 37 hours or something. And I'm outside, the cops, you fucking Huns. Wow. And my buddy comes out, and he's like, "What are you doing?" They're like, "Is your friend American?" He's like, "Yeah." He goes, "Take him home." You fucking Hun. And anyway. So I mean, I don't care. That's what happens when you're 6'2" and 80 pounds.
Exactly.
You just, piss off. But anyway, I won't be. When I'm sober, I'm not that stupid. But when you get a couple, liquid courages in you, that's what happens.
Yep, no question about it. And if you're skinny like me, you get the shit beat out of you.
No, stop.
Dr. J, thanks so much for calling in, pal. And we look forward to talking to you soon. And
by the way, Rev.
Yes.
Hey, listen, don't let them give a shit about the Yankees, the Giants, or the Dodgers. So.
I know it's just jealousy on their part.
Orange and white freaking Flyers and shove it up their ass.
Well, that was a message well delivered. Dr. J, thank you so much for getting in touch, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, man. Hey, Yampi, love you, brother. Good luck, and hell, boys. Take care.
All right, we'll talk to you soon.
Later.
That's Dr. J calling from the Palmetto State. Again, the, what do they call it? I guess it's the state of South Carolina. They don't have, that uppity bullshit with the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth.
Yeah, what's that about?
Commonwealth of Virginia. You're now entering the Commonwealth of Virginia.
You've only lived in Commonwealth states, haven't you?
No, I lived in South Carolina for 5 years. 4 years.
Well, don't really count college.
How the hell can you say that? You can't count. I lived there.
Okay, but I mean, you didn't, own a house there.
Oh, sorry, Mr. Helicopter Man. I didn't own a house. Well, great googly moogly, Rev. You gotta own a house. You're a homeowner.
I don't know if you want to be talking about owning things with that accent.
Well, great. Damien's beard. Now, listen. Let me get back to the point I'm making. The board want Sevco to be in the SPL as soon as possible. And you might ask yourself, why would that even be possible? We have all the Champions League revenue and, we're just coasting through everything. Think about it. The media, across the board are still 2 years after this happened. I'm not agreeing with this. I think it's the worst thing ever. And my information is most folks inside of Celtic Park thinks this is the stupidest thing ever. But those who are in charge, Dermot Desmond, wants Sevco back in the SPL as soon as possible. And he said it on camera. Okay, listen, this isn't hearsay. He's said it on camera, and I've had it backed up. And this is what is framing their policy. He wants Sevco back in the SPL or the SPFL or the, cluster, whatever. He wants them back in the top flight as soon as possible. And the thought process is they'll come back, but they'll be weaker. So we'll have, quote unquote, Glasgow derbies again, even though it's a new club. But it's clear that our own club, the powers that be in our own club, definitely refer to them as the same for profitability issues, licensing issues for the storyline. They want them back so that they can fill the stadium twice a season. They'll be in a weakened state so that we will continue to win the SPL for an extended period. And we will continue to get the Champions League money, but we will beat them over and over again. They want to exploit the sectarian, passion between the clubs, but they're so confident that when and if they get back to the top flight, that we will be able to have, our foot on their throat and be able to keep them down, which in my opinion is incredibly naive. I mean, look at what happened today. Look what happens week after week against Celtic, and they're not even in the top flight. You think that's not going to start again? I mean, think about Mowbray's year. We give Mowbray so much stick, but think about the calls that were given throughout that year. It was a disgrace. And I don't know if our board has forgotten about that. I don't know if Dermot Desmond isn't aware of that. But you think it's bad now? It's going to make the calls, the honest mistakes that happened. Robbie Keane getting fouled 9 times without Bagari even so much as a card. It's going to be worse. I'm telling you. I don't need to tell you. Everybody knows. They're going to get every favor that they possibly can. But our board seems hell-bent on maximizing the profitability, maximizing the storyline. They feel as if it's a shortcoming not having them here. From a storyline perspective, season book sales have been down. They lowered the price, and season book sales haven't gone back up into the mid-50s like they were during the Martin O'Neill years. They can say all they want that, we're a single entity club and, we only need ourselves to function. It's bullshit. It's meant to distract you. It's meant to appease you. It's not what they really think. And this response to the request of the Celtic Trust, who represents a lot of Celtic supporters, and actually does a great job of defending, supporting the supporters, which the club itself should do. There shouldn't be a need for the Celtic Trust, but I'm glad that they're there. They put forth a proposal to rightfully investigate the SFA's conduct in issuing Rangers FC IC or IL, issuing them a license when they didn't qualify, and they won't do it. Ask yourself why. Nobody can come up with a good reason. This is my theory. It's an evidence. It's
not far off.
It's an evidence-based theory, but it's a theory, and you can disagree, or you can go on Twitter and call me a fanny, or whatever, or you can unfollow me or block me. It really hurts my feelings. Makes me very sad, but I don't give a shit. This is just me being honest. And Rev's, look, he's playing the safe route. Look at him.
No, I'm agreeing with you.
Sure you are. Then you go on Twitter, I don't know what that Graham was saying. Oh, that's crazy. Don't worry, I'll go on Paradise Preview with Josh. Whatever the hell ever happened to Josh? Gaffer, call us.
I think he got GTA 5 and just kind of got sucked in. And...
That's not a bad theory. Gaffer got GTA 5 and is like, right, I'm going to carjack you. That was the worst Gaffer impersonation ever, by the way.
That was a Russian Gaffer.
Hello, I'm from Bowness. Yes, I play GTA 5. I'm from Bowness. I am a Celtic fan. CelticTalk.org. Ambulance, I has it. What?
No, that's a Wenger.
No, Wenger is very specific. Wenger is here. Let's get some. We need some tunage in the background here. Here, we'll just get sort of like the background music. Yeah, little air oak for you. With going home British soldiers. Why don't they just go home? Don't they have a home of their own? Yeah, coming at you. Wilhelmina. Now, Wenger is, the players, they did not look comfortable on the pitch today. Their muscles were tense. I think we have a good core to the team at the moment, and we will play the style of football that we are happy to play. Mesut Ozil, he saved my ass. True, it cost 42 million, but he's the best midfielder. See, now I'm going back to the Russian thing. It always happens. A lot of there's not like the French. Well, German's okay, but the French accent always winds up Russian, and my Irish accent always winds up Jamaican. You know, it's like pull another pint of the Guinness, man.
I don't even.
I don't either. What do you think, Rev?
I don't know. I don't even know what I think.
Hey, I'm getting measured up for a kilt.
Yeah, you got to do that.
Yeah, I'll get them the information. Come on, let's sing. Have you got no fucking homes of your own? For 800 years, we fought you without fear, and we'll fight you for 800 more. British, we're not Saxon, we're not English. We're American. Proud we are to be. Well, not the Rev. Fuck your Union Jack. We want our football club back. Peter. Alright, it's enough. Jesus. Get a hold of yourself. So I'll get those measurements up to you, and I'll be kilting it up. Let me ask you. It's December, okay? You're gonna wear something underneath, right? You're gonna wear some unders. Are you not? You're not going naked underneath the kilt in December, are you?
No, they're rentals.
That's a good point.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about getting, like, everyone should get, like, a pair of, like, obnoxious boxers with, like, big giant hearts on them or something like that.
Hearts?
Ooh, yeah. Not those hearts.
All right, I can see.
Or maybe shamrocks, maybe big giant shamrocks.
All right, I can see we're gonna need a brainstorming session here.
Because I mean, I've already planned out pictures. We're gonna be mooning the highway.
Oh dear Lord,
this is happening.
All right. Why not? It's not the weirdest thing I've ever done. It'll be a few days after I return from Scotland, so I'll be awash in tenants and grouse.
Perfect.
Plenty of the grouse. Yeah. So we got the book launch. Paul Larkin's Edinburgh book launch. I'm going to be emceeing that. MC Graham. MC Graham on the dial. Come on. Coming at you. Yes, that's going to be awesome. I'm not really, to use an Americanism for you, I'm not really sure exactly where it is, but it's sold out. So, yes, that's going to be great. And then the next night, Wolf Tones, Cope Bridge. I mean, seriously, come on.
Nice.
Cope Bridge is like ground zero for the Wolf Tones. I mean, it just starts and ends in Cope Bridge. You know?
I'm not that familiar, but I'll take your word.
Have you ever been to a Wolf Tones concert?
No.
Oh, come on, Rev.
I asked you guys, maybe a year and a half ago, they were playing somewhere north of Philly, and I asked you and Seamus and fucking Coach, I'm like, hey, you guys want to go? And I think you couldn't or whatever, obviously, and Seamus had to do the kids because it was like a Wednesday night or a Tuesday night, and so I'm like, come on, Coach, me and you, and he just poo-pooed it and just like, nah, they're not the real Wolf Tones anymore, and he didn't want to go. So I'm like, well, I'm not going to drive out to friggin' Pennsylvania.
Wait, the coach said that?
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like him.
Or no, I don't know. He had some. It was two years ago. I don't really remember, but he had some.
Well, they were probably
beef with what's his name.
Yeah, with Brian Warfield.
Yeah.
Well, there's certain things you just can't let go. Well, listen, from my perspective, they were probably playing down here, and I was going to their show down here, which you're more than welcome to come down to. But you got to get out, and see the Tones. We're going to Paul and I are going to go up to Cope Bridge, and we're going to see the Wolf Tones, and everybody's going to hold hands, and I'll get my, tricolor headband. It's going to be great. And then the next night, we're going to pump AC Milan.
I hope so. We better.
And then, hopefully, I will not be sick, and I'll return home. Day before Thanksgiving. Then I'll fire down some turkey down my pie hole, and I'll make my way up to Jersey to watch you get hitched. You realize, you're not going to be able to have. You're never going to make a decision on your own ever again. You realize that, right? You're just signing it all away.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, you're fucked. Hey, congratulations, though, man. Really happy for you.
Thanks. It'll be a fun time.
Well, yeah, that's for sure. Kilts with hearts on them. And then we're gonna moon the highway. Jesus.
Where do you see the boutonnieres?
The boutonnieres.
Right, or the little flower.
Ah, yeah.
The button thing, yeah.
Ah, lovely. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yep.
All right. Well, we did 2 hours, and I'm sure that there's plenty of ammo for people to fire at us. Fire at me.
I think you got a week's worth of hate tweets coming your way now. You did a good job.
Yeah. Well, how is that different from anything else? I get hate tweets no matter what. Nice interview you did with Paul Larkin. I can't wait to get his book, you fucking dick. Oh, glad you liked it. All right. Well, 1-1, not the end of the world. I'm not really concerned with, domestic results at the moment. Obviously, the Champions League is really, it's paramount. We need to win the next 2 games. Neil Lennon himself said it, and he's not wrong. We need to win the next 2 games, home and away, and I'm just hoping that he pulls a rabbit out of the hat, as he does. He has a tendency to do. Actually, I sent out a tweet earlier today saying, I'm just confused about, why when Lennon's tactics go wrong, it's everything seems to get narrow. We talked about it a little bit on the show, and some guy responds to me on Twitter. It's because he's a ginger prick. Oh my God. And that basically, it tells you everything you need to know. Some people are just going to be unhappy, And some people are just, out of their minds. And that's what I fall into. So.
Mental.
Yeah. So anyway, but at least, hey, look, I'm honest, okay? Gone are the days of me trying to appease people and, I'm going to try and be positive. I'm trying not to be a moaner, Okay, come on, Pookie. Fuck that. It's dishonest. Okay. If you think I'm out of my mind or whatever, I'm honest. And this is how I feel. So. And Rev's right there to filter in. So that's the good news.
I got you back.
Oh, that is reassuring. All right, before we go, predictions. It's prediction time, Tuesday. Do the right thing, Rev.
1-1.
Good man. Yeah, I disagree, but that's a good call. I like that. And I'm thinking Spartak Moscow, barn burner, 3-2, Celtic. I don't know what it is, but I feel, I feel an emboldened performance. With some passion. It's going to be, there's going to be a lot of emotion. I just believe that Neil Lennon's going to have them ready to go. And I think he's going to have it sorted out tactically as well. And
I hope so. I hope tomorrow is just a big friggin' inspirational speech day kind of thing up at Lennoxtown.
Yeah, either that or just play, some just play some Arrow.
You got the fucking homes of your own. For 800 years, we fought you without fear, and we will fight you for 800 more.
Yeah, there's not going to be any more of the covering up of the rebel tunes. The rebel tunes are here and they're staying. If the British Army can sing about Fenians and Bobby Sands and do the bouncy and all the anti-Catholic bullshit, then I'm going to sing my song. And if anybody doesn't like it, as Rocky Bats would say, buff on ghoul.
And people wonder why, everyone was against wearing the poppies on the jerseys and everything.
Oh, yeah.
There
yeah.
you go.
You can stick your poppy up your ass, too. You prick. See, I can do Twitter slagging. That's banter. All right, I'm going 3-2. It's going to be a barn burn. It's going to be exciting. It's going down to the last minute, and Sammy's going to do it. I'll say Jamesy is good for one. I'm going to say Pookie's good for one. And Sammy off a corner. And the 88th minute, 3-2. Good guys.
I like it.
Yep, and then we march off. Sammy scores one from a corner, heads it in, runs down to the corner, does his little bow and arrow bullshit, and then somebody rips his shirt off. And then he gets a yellow card, and he misses the next game. Oh, Sammy. I'm so glad he didn't cut his hair. That was scary. You missed that, didn't you?
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Oh, Jesus. Rev, you got to pay attention. So midweek, Sammy's playing international game, for Greece, as opposed to the other international team he plays for. And there was an angle of a picture of him that made it look like he had cut his hair. Like his hair, it looked like he had like a fade into a 1983 David Bowie flip haircut. It was terrifying. It was like, holy shit, Sammy, if you're going to cut your hair, don't do that. And for about 20 minutes, Twitter just exploded. It was like, holy shit, Sammy cut his hair. Oh my God, that looks like shit. And then somebody tweeted another picture of him and the hair was still there. I was like, oh, thank God.
You know what I just realized?
What'd you realize?
Samson, he's got the hair. Come on. Thank you.
Well done, Rev. Well done indeed.
I'm sure somebody probably figured it out that like 2 years ago, but I did it now.
Mm-hmm. Well, good effort. And, all right, that's going to do it. 2 hours. It's plenty. Deal with it. Paul Arkin's book is available now from Lulu. You can get all the details at the Asterisk Skiers on Twitter. Also, just a plug for the Celtic Trust and all the great work that they're doing. You can follow them on Twitter at the Celtic Trust and get more information about the resolutions that they're proposing at the AGM. And if you have shares and you get the proxy in the mail, don't throw it away. Or, feel like your vote doesn't count or you can't be bothered or whatever. If you can make it up to the AGM, go. Have your voice heard. Either way, it's a democratic process and we need to be heard. And don't filibuster. Don't get up there and tell your life story for 20 minutes and don't give other people a chance. Go up there, make your point, and then sit down. But make your point, especially if you agree with me. No matter what.
If you don't agree with me,
yeah, then stay the hell home. No, either way, but if you feel as strongly as I do about this, fill it out, send it in, even if you can't make it. If you can make it, great. But make your voice heard. Even if they're not going to do anything about it, we need to force a response and demand that they explain themselves, because this is unacceptable. I know there's a lot of people who agree with me. So don't sit by, the wayside and feel as though you don't matter. You do. This message paid for by the Celtic Trust. No, it isn't. I'm a big supporter of theirs, and so we're looking forward to having Jeanette on in the next few weeks. So, with that being said, I'm done with my plugs. Rev, thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks to Yampy for getting in touch. The parrot, as always. Looking swish down in the Royal Mile, I'm sure, and to Dr. J, the purveyor of Myrtle Beach Ball Deep CSC. I'm Graham Wilson, and taking us out as always is Shane McGowan, and I think he's got some falsies now. He's no longer toothless, so that's good. Good for Shane. And we'll talk to you soon. Hail, and keep the faith.
The island, it is silent now, but the ghosts still haunt the waves. And a torch lights up a famished man who fortune could not save. Did you work upon the railroads? Did you ride the streets of crime? Were your dollars from the White House? Were they from the 5 and dime? Did the old songs start to cheer you? And did they still make you cry? Did you count the months and years? Or did your teardrops quickly dry? I know that it was not to be on a copping ship. I came here and I never even got so far that they could change my name. Thousands are sailing across the western ocean to a land of opportunity that some of them will never see. Fortune prevailing across the western ocean, their bellies full, their spirits free. They'll break the chains of poverty and they'll dance. In Manhattan's desert twilight, in the dead of afternoon, we stepped hand in hand on Broadway, like the first man on the moon. And a blackbird broke the silence as you whistled, it's so sweet. And in Brendan Behan's footsteps, I danced up and down the street. And we said goodnight to Broadway, giving it our best regards. Took our hats to Mr. Cohen, dear old Times Square's favorite bird. Then we raised a glass to JFK and a dozen more besides. When I got back to my empty room, I suppose I must have cried. Thousands are sailing again across the ocean with a hand of opportunity, just tickets in a